But personally, I love to just watch people walking by. It's fun. I think it's fun. And I know some other people who think it's fun too. I don't know if you do. But I was thinking, would it be fun to just set up a camera and show you people walking by in different places? So, like, I could just set up a camera here in Seattle and see who's walking by. Um, I could do the same thing in LA. I could do it in New York because it's interesting to watch different people, I think. So I'm just gonna walk a little bit and see where I would set up. Although I'm in this park in the middle of Seattle. It's cool. It's a lot of activity. You don't see that many people though, but like it's a nice setup over here. And yeah, so I thought maybe if I set up the camera and you guys could just kind of watch people walk by, because don't you do that when you're in a different place, when you're in a different city? Don't you just sometimes sit somewhere, whether it's a restaurant or somewhere else, and just kind of observe the people going by? So I thought it could be fun to do exactly that. So here are people crossing the street, so I think more people will come by. And you'll have to tell me if this is a good idea or kind of boring. I'm open to it. So you tell me. Hello, Sue. How are you? What is going on? What do you think about this concept? Do you like it? Do you want to see people walking by? Kind of check out the people of Seattle and other cities? I mean, I don't know about you, but I could honestly sit on a bench in any place and just observe. Because as you know, my talks are all about people and getting to know people. So similarly, getting to see and getting to know people of all kinds as they're in their world, being themselves, is kind of cool. I like it. So, oh, you think it's fine? Okay, good to know, Sue. Thank you. I think it could be interesting. And so I was even thinking maybe I'll set up a tripod and just set it up in a busy spot. So this is not the busiest spot, by the way, in Seattle. This is like a working area where people are going to work. And so, oh, I'm right near the Amazon headquarters, by the way. I have not seen it yet. I'm going to walk past there soon. Stopped off to get a little bit of food. And but like I was thinking yesterday when I was in a place called Pike Place, which is the fish market, it was so packed. And there were so many people walking. And I was kind of fascinated watching everybody. And I was thinking it would be kind of fun to set something like this up. Set up a tripod and just let you guys watch the people strolling by. So fewer people right here, but still people to watch. Like you don't have to look at me, you can look at them, right? You see people coming by. All right, let's get to the questions. All right, so who am I, Bacon? Well, I am a few things. I host a celebrity interview show called Really Famous. I'm a therapist, and so when people come to talk to me, we tend to get into some really interesting subjects, and they often reveal some intimate details of what they've been through or what their life is like. So if you have favorite TV shows or movies, check out Really Famous, because you will get to know the people on a lot of these things. So yeah, and I'm also a licensed therapist, as I mentioned, so that. Okay, let's get back to you, Sue. What brings me to Seattle? So I'm in Seattle simply because my son wanted to check out. He wanted to check out Olympic National Park, which is nearby. It's out on the peninsula. So this is like the northwestern tip of the U.S., not including Alaska, the continental U.S., I guess. So before he starts school, we decided to hit it. So we flew to Seattle, stayed here a couple days, went out to the national park in that area, and now we're back in Seattle, going back to LA tonight. Oh my gosh, Sue, you love my interview with Louis Anderson. Love that. Louis Anderson. I always put my hand to my heart. He and I became fast friends on the show. Like that, immediately, we felt like we knew each other forever. Loved it. Yeah, I missed him. And in fact, here's a fun fact. Louis and I were talking about doing a show together, and we even made some kind of test shows to see how it would be. And yeah, so we tried that. We weren't sure what we were going to do, but I absolutely love Louis and miss him. And when he died, I felt so disappointed that he wasn't going to be on this planet Earth anymore, because he was a pretty amazing guy and added a lot. So thank you for telling me about that. I totally appreciate that. So yeah, I am also thinking that as I'm sitting here talking to you, people are walking by and like, what is she doing? But I guess everybody does that now, right? Like, who doesn't look into their phone and talk to it these days? Like, I could be FaceTiming, or I could be live, I could be just filming a video. I don't even let that stuff bother me anymore. However, sometimes I do wonder what people are thinking when they see this. Okay, yes, you remember that we discussed the show. Is that what you're saying? That we remember that you remember that we discussed doing a show together, Louie and I? Um, yeah, Louie was complicated. He was a complicated and emotional guy, and I don't know if you ever saw Baskets, but if you watch Baskets, the character he played, Christine Baskets, was so unique and real, and you could just feel her, couldn't you? I don't know, I did. And that doesn't come from nowhere, so it comes from a complicated human, I think. So I think that all of the depth of Christine came from Louis and his complexity and his struggles in life. And he definitely had some struggles. Yes, you did see Baskets. Hey guys, if anybody besides Sue and I have not seen Baskets, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Zach Galifianakis, also amazing, love him. I saw recently that he's gonna be in another show soon, so waiting for that. That'll be cool. Okay, so what else do we think about this people watching business over here? Yes, no. Well, Sue, you said yes, fine. Anyone else opinions? Also, questions about the show? Questions about any of my interviews? Questions about any of the celebrities I've had on? If you do, I'd love to talk about it with you right now while I'm here. Or later, you could always email me. By the way, do you watch on YouTube Really Famous, or do you listen to the podcast on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts? I'd love to know that as well. More people. Oh, suitcases. Oh, so here's a fun fact about Seattle. A few fun facts, actually. Number one, it is one of the most expensive cities to visit in the United States. Who would have thought? But it's true, and I can tell you from firsthand experience that yes, everything is super, super expensive here. It's so weird, like more expensive than New York. A lot of these prices, hotel prices and food, restaurants, super steep. And I just looked it up. I was like, why is it so expensive? And part of it is because there's a lot of tech companies here, and it kind of blew up, and there's not enough housing, and it's more expensive to bring supplies. I'm not sure how true that is. That was kind of like AI generated. Okay, here's the other fact though. Fun fact about Seattle that I learned on this trip is that it is loaded with, in the summer, loaded with Alaskan cruise passengers. So they have ships going from Seattle to Alaska. Like basically every day there are ships coming and going, big cruise ships. So you constantly see people with lots of luggage, and I don't know why, but I see a lot of people bringing like big suitcases on their cruise ships, on their cruises. I guess they tuck away the suitcases, so it doesn't really matter, but I usually travel with just a little rollerboard bag and a side bag. That's it. Easier for me, I feel, to get around. Okay, anyway, so yeah, why it's so expensive too. These hotel rooms are super expensive because there are people going on cruises and embarking and disembarking every day, and they need hotels that night, the night before, the night after, whatever. Okay, so that was the fun fact. So let's get back to this situation here about my celebrity interview show, which I'm always happy to talk about. All right, so yes, okay, Sue wants to know. Yes, here's a question. Is there a common thread in celebrities? Yeah, okay, so I do get asked that question a lot, and I have an opinion on it. I have a couple of things to say about that. So one would be that everybody is insecure. Like very few people I've met, including very successful celebrities, feel confident all the time. They have insecurities just like all of us. They don't love the way they look. They feel like they have imposter syndrome often. They have problems just like everybody else. Relationship struggles, family struggles, self-doubt. Lots of successful actors tell me that they think they're never going to work again. that their last job will be their last job. So I've heard that a lot. I don't know why, but I'm picturing Michael Imperioli telling me that. I don't remember who else did specifically, but I know that I've heard it over and over again. So they're human. I guess I would say that, just like us. And then I will say something about celebrities who are not necessarily actors, but more like what you would call TV personalities. For example, Mike Rowe, the Dirty Jobs host and Deadliest Catch host, Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer, and Tim Gunn. Well, Tim Gunn might be the only exception, but I have seen that people who become very successful as themselves, so they're not playing a role on TV, they are presenting themselves as they are on TV, so they're like TV personalities, get there by accident. They had their eyes on something they wanted. They wanted to be the top. They wanted to be famous, or they wanted to be successful, or they wanted something. And no matter what got in their way, they kept going. So it's like they didn't let failure stop them, and they stuck with their dream. And when something didn't work out, they found another way to do it. So I would say that is like the most common thread among TV personalities, host, whatever. Skip Bayless is another one I would say that about. Okay, let's see. All right. This is very funny. Good one. Who likes to hear their own voice over and over? So do you think that's what's going on here? Just trying to entertain you. How about you say something useful? That might be more fun. Have you ever ridden one of these scooters here, these Limes? I did it in San Francisco. It was fun. But I was a little nervous it wasn't going to be so good, so I was like, I could only do this on the sidewalk. So I was like, I'll do one of these Lime scooters on the sidewalk only. But of course, it has signs on it saying, no riding on sidewalks. So what are you going to do? Well, I'm still going to try to ride on a sidewalk. So I tried, and then as soon as I started riding, somehow it knew, and there was a speaker on it, and I heard a voice coming out of the speaker saying, no sidewalks, beep, beep, no sidewalks. So that didn't go too well. I had to go to the street, but it was actually fun. The street was good. I rode with the cars and everything all along San Francisco, along the water. I recommend it. Okay, so back to the questions and comments. Tim Gunn's interviews were excellent. Thank you, Sue. So let's see, Tim Gunn was the reason I even basically have a show, I would say. I mean, he was the kind of the impetus. So I had interviewed him for a piece in the New York Times that I was writing. And I went to his apartment in Manhattan and sat down with him, and we just talked for 3 hours. It was fabulous. I loved it. But since it was just a small article, it didn't have much space in the Times, so I could only include a tiny part of it. And when I got home, my husband I was elated. I was like on cloud nine, loved every minute of hanging out with Tim Gunn and talking about everything. And so my husband was like, oh, you should start a podcast. And I was like, well, a podcast? What are you talking about? He was an early adopter. So this was like before everybody had podcasts. And he's like, you should start one. So I thought about it for like a year or so. I wasn't sure if I really wanted my voice to be heard. So I'm used to being in the background, not in the foreground. But about a year later, I started Really Famous. And Tim was my first guest. I asked him, I said, hey, Tim, I'm starting a show, a podcast. Would you be my guest? And he said, yes, absolutely. And I had no following or anything at that point. So, but he still said yes. And then he proceeded to post about it on his Instagram. And like, that's how I got my first followers. That's how I got my first fans of Really Famous. And I owe Tim so much for that, like just so much appreciation. And I appreciate him so much. And then after that, Tim and I stayed in touch, not all the time, but here and there, like I'll check in with him, and then sometimes we'll go to lunch. But he's not that social. So I don't know if you realize that or not, but Tim is not that socially, kind of likes to be by himself. Anyway, I convinced him to do a little catch-up interview with me. I'm like, just a few minutes. I'll take just my phone, I won't take all my cameras and everything, just my phone, and we'll kind of like sit in front of it for a minute and talk about what you've been up to since the last big interview. So of course he said, yeah, okay. So I went to his place again. We set up a tripod, but it was just my phone in front of us. So I was like, Tim, let's both look at the camera instead of at each other, because we're kind of like talking to everybody out there. So I set it up like that, and we started talking, and it turned into a huge conversation again. So we were on camera for an hour. So it turned into like a regular interview basically, but it was different, especially because we're both looking at the camera. So I get a lot of criticism on that video, because they're like, why are you so distracted? You're not even looking at him when he's talking to you, which is true, but it was intentional. Trust me when I tell you, I was paying full attention to Tim the whole time, but I was also trying to pay attention to you guys to make sure that you would see us. So anyway, I don't regret doing it, but I do regret not bringing 2 or 3 cameras as a setup. So I'll do that again some other time. But that's more of the Tim Gunn story. Okay, why are some celebrities insecure? Because they are just like us, the fallen slaves, that's all. Because they're human, just like we are. And I'm telling you, everybody's insecure. So you can get more and more confident. As a therapist, I see people getting more confident who I'm working with all the time. It's a beautiful thing, but it doesn't usually just happen. And it takes work. So for a lot of celebrities, it's not just that they're celebrities that makes them insecure, it's the fact that they're human. So just like everybody else. All right, let's see. I can't get over how he bonded with you. You're talking about Tim. He seems complicated. Yes, and he has a conscience. So yes, all that stuff. So I do feel like we bonded quite well. And I mean, he says that to me. Sometimes I'm like, well, I hardly even see him, and I wish I saw him more. So like, how bonded are we? But I do think that's Tim, and that's how he is. So he is complicated, as you can see with all the stories he told me. And he is like, yeah, he's like the only person that I've heard of who outright stood up to Harvey Weinstein at the very beginning. He was like, I'm not taking this. So I'm telling you, he stood up to Harvey Weinstein. Who does that? Most people didn't. They just kind of were like, all right, okay. So I respect him for that a lot. He definitely says what he means. And he even does it on air. I remember after I talked to him, I was like, oh, I hope he doesn't have any regrets, because he kind of trashed some of the Project Runway judges, if you remember. And I was kind of like, I hope he doesn't regret this. But I realized he knew he was talking to me publicly, and it was all okay. It was all good. So, all right. So that's that. I think I'm going to start wrapping up soon. Okay. Hi. Who's there? Jayant from India. Hi. We are in Seattle right now. Well, I'm in Seattle. So I had this idea that I would put up a camera and let everybody just kind of watch the passers-by, because I like to do that, and I would like to see that if somebody else wanted to do that. So I set it up right here, and I'm in the middle of Seattle. I'm near the Amazon headquarters. I'm going to go check that out and see what that's all about. I'm not an Amazon fan, but I thought while in Seattle, you should see that, right? I went up the Space Needle. That was cool. There's a glass floor and a rotating like walkway that goes around the whole needle, and you see 360 degrees of views of Seattle. Loved that. I love a good view. And yeah, so that's Seattle. And in case you missed it, anybody who wasn't tuned in before, Seattle's expensive, so save your money and think about visiting LA. It's like, I think a little cheaper actually, less expensive than Seattle. Who would have thought? Thank you so much for hanging out with me with this chat. This was fun, and I guess I'll chat with you later. Okay, see you in another place. All right, keep watching. Thanks, guys.